Okay, today's lesson is lesson 3.2, which is multiplying decimals. So yesterday's lesson was 3.1, which was adding and subtracting decimals. And in those problems, we would align our decimal in order to find the answer. Today's work is a little bit different. So for your notes, you need to write down that the number of decimal places in the factors determine where the decimal goes in the product. So, the number of decimal places in the factors determine where the decimal goes in the product. When we are multiplying two decimal numbers, we count the decimal places within each part of the multiplication problem. We add those together and we then move the decimal to the left that many spaces in our product. For example, in example 1a, you can see the problem 6 times 0.1. Now, when we write this multiplication problem, we want to write it vertically. And you'll notice we don't need to line up the decimal. Because what we're going to do is we're going to multiply each number as if the decimal is not there. So 6 times 1 is 6. We then go back and count how many decimal places each factor has. 6 has 0, 0.1 has 1. 0 plus 1 is 1, and that is how many decimal places we would have in our product. 1. Our answer is 0.6. Okay, now some of your problems are going to have positives and negatives. Remember, when we multiply two negatives or two positives, our answer is a positive. When we multiply a negative and a positive, our product is always negative. So, first problem is -2 times 0.04. The first thing we're going to do is write that vertically. So we have -2 times 0.04. Mathematically speaking, this is a very easy problem. What is 4 times 2? That's right, it is 8. Now we have decimals, so we need to count how many decimal places are in each factor. There are 0 in 2. There is 1, 2 in 0.04. So altogether, there are 2 decimal places. So with our 8, what we do is count 2 places to the left to figure out where our decimal goes. So 1, 2, that's where our decimal goes, and we add in the 0. Now, we have a negative factor and a positive factor, and we know from our previous rules that if you have a negative multiplied by a positive, your product is always going to be negative. Therefore, our answer is -0.08. Now, if we look at the third example, in example 1, we have a multi-digit multiplication problem. So we have 1.25 times 23. So if we write that vertically, we have 1.25 times 23, and we would multiply this out. So 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 3 times 1 is 3. Then we move to our 10 spot. When we multiply a double digit like that, we remember we have to add a 0 for our 10 spot, then multiply by that number. So 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, and 2 times 1 is 2. We then add those together, 5, 7, 8, 2. Now to find where our decimal goes, we have to count the decimal places in each factor. In the first number, we have 1, 2. In 23, we have 0, which leaves us with 2 total decimal places. So we then bring our decimal to the left, 1, 2, giving us the answer of 28.75. Now, all of these problems in example 1 have only had one factor with a decimal. What does it look like when we have a problem where both factors have a decimal? So let's look at example 2a. And the number they give us in 2a is 1.2 times 1.6. So write that out. We have 1.2 times 1.6, and we're multiplying. So 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 1. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Multiply your 10 spot, put in a 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Add those together, we get 2, 9, 1. Where do we put our decimal? Well, we count how many decimal places we have in each factor. So in first factor, we have 1. We add that to our second factor, which is 1. And 1 plus 1 is 2. So we bring that down to our problem. 1, 2, put in the decimal, and the answer is 1.92. And if you look in the book, we got that correct. So let's try one where our decimal places are not the same in each factor. So in example 2b, we have the following problem. They give us negative 2.78 times, this marker is dying, 0.8. So we line that up, we get negative 2.78 times 0.8. 8 times 8 is 64. Oops. Sorry about that. Carry your 6. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 6 is 62. Carry your 6. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 6 is 22. Now, where do we put our decimal? On the top factor, we have 2 decimal places. On our second factor, we have 1, which leaves us with a total of 3 factor places. So we come down to our answer. We start here at the very end of our number, and we go to the left 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. Giving us an answer of 2.224. And hopefully you've recognized that that answer is incorrect because our multiplication has a negative. So we have one factor that is a negative, which means our answer is also negative. So for the last part of this lesson, before you move on to your assignment, we are going to do the think and discuss question number 1, which gives you a problem. I'm going to write the problem on here. I want you to work the problem out and then tell me whether or not the answer that they give you is correct or incorrect. If it is incorrect, please explain to me what they did wrong. So the problem they have in that think and discuss section of the examples are 2.1 times 3.3 equals 69.3. Now, in your notebook, I want you to work out this problem and then tell me whether or not it is correct. If it is incorrect, explain why. When you're done with that, you can start on your homework assignment.